especially with service-based, they can only actually serve a limited amount of people. And so there's always going to be more people that need the help than people that provide that service.
Hey there, I'm Goli Kalkaran, and this is Lessons from a Quitter, where we believe that it's never too late to start over. No matter how much time or money you've spent getting to where you are, if ultimately you are not happy, then it's time to get out. If you're feeling stuck and you feel like there's gotta be more, there's gotta be a way to feel fulfilled and excited about what you do, then this is the podcast for you. Each week, I will sit down with an inspiring guest who quit their professional career in order to forge their own path and create a life that they love. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. I am really excited about today's episode, and I can't wait to jump in with Jena Liat today. But before we do, a couple of things I wanted to bring up. Last week, I mentioned that I really want to start answering some questions you guys might have. So shoot me over any questions you have about your journey, or, maybe questions you want to direct at some guests that I can ask them. You can email me at goli@lessonsfromaquitter.com or DM me on any of the social media platforms, and I will include your questions in some future episodes. And also, I know I've mentioned before, but I have a newsletter that comes out once a week. It's very short. I provide, a tip, article, a video that I have found helpful in my own journey. And I think it could help, whether it be with mindset, overcoming fear, productivity tips, things that can just help you, like finding a side hustle or whatnot. So if that's something that you want or you think can help you on your journey, go to the website at lessonsfromaquitter.com and sign up for that newsletter. And with that, let's jump into the episode today with Jena. I love this episode, and I like the story so much because Jena is a wife and mom who taught fifth grade for 6 years, and she's in the unique, position. Sometimes we talk to people who hated their job from the beginning. She loved being a teacher, but we talk about, sometimes careers that you love just end up not fitting with your life anymore or serving you in the way that you need. And it's okay to walk away from that. And what's really cool about her situation is that she walked away not really knowing what else she was going to do. And we'll talk about the kind of how she started taking those first steps and how that ultimately led her into getting into doing Pinterest for various clients. And then she started building up an expertise in Pinterest management. And now she has this business that has replaced her income and allows her to spend more time at home. So she's working less. And the cool thing is that she's only been doing this for 2 years. So, she now has the opportunity to scale this business and not only have more impact and make more money and live more of a life that's aligned with what she wants for her family and children. But I think that one of the keys to this story that I really love is that it's not like she had a love for Pinterest or she quit, because she had such expertise or a degree in Pinterest management. I mean, she just started. And we talked with last week with Allie Boone, where she was just having kind of these curiosities about real estate and started going to real estate conferences and found something that lit her up. It's the same thing with Jena. So I think that it just kind of highlights that fact that you don't have to have this God-given passion for something. You just follow your curiosities and it sort of leads you to the thing that you should be doing right now. And I think that she is a testament to that. And it's a really fun story. So without further ado, let's jump in and talk to Jena. Hi, Jena. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, absolutely. I'm super excited to be here and talk with you.
I'm super excited to have you on. I've actually, a bunch of people that have reached out to me about the podcast are either former teachers or are teachers that are looking to get out. So I know this is something that's going to resonate with a lot of people. So let's just start back kind of at the beginning. And why don't you let us know, what led you into teaching and what was that journey to become a teacher like for you?
Originally, I kind of was interested in psychology, and the deeper I got into everything, it was, I was learning that I was really sensitive. And so I would be really upset with other people's situations. And so, looking at how I could still support and serve people and, really wanting a career that was family friendly was a big deal because my husband, we've been together since I was 14. And so we knew eventually we would have kids. We wanted something that would be, family friendly for me to be there. And at the time, teaching was really a good fit for the goals that we had with our life.
And so you get your degree, and what kind of teacher did you become? What did you want to do with your teaching career?
So I started out teaching fifth grade. So for most of my teaching career, I taught fifth grade. That was during the time with the economy, everything was really rough. Everyone was looking for jobs. So it was super fortunate to even get a teaching job at that point. And I ended up staying in fifth grade, and I really loved it. The first couple of years were amazing. The content was really awesome. The things that I was teaching and the age of the kids was really fun because they're so smart and witty, and you could just have conversations that were really amazing with these, kids that were just learning and growing so much within that year that you had them.
Right. And so during the time that you're teaching, did you get your master's degree or did you have your undergrad degree?
I did. While I was teaching, I was working on my master's, and I ended up getting it in less than 2 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you have your master's degree and you're in your job. So when did you start having kind of an inkling that you wanted to get out of teaching?
Yeah, it was actually right after I finished up my master's, and then after having my first daughter and going back. And it was this constant pull between putting in more hours to serve my students and get all of the paperwork done and, being there for my own family and raising my own child. It was a struggle to leave every afternoon to be able to go pick her up on time and constantly bringing homework every night. And it just seems that there was this struggle to keep everything balanced. And I felt like I was constantly letting someone down, whether it was my students in my classroom or my own, then having my second child, letting my own kids down, not being there as much as I should be for them.
That's a struggle that I think a lot of people, especially women, I would say, seem to go through when they're trying to balance a career. And it's funny because I do think a lot of people look at teaching as something that is a little more family friendly because it's like you may get out at the same time. And I think a lot of times we think you may have more free time, but the reality is that teachers have to put in so many hours outside of school that I know that isn't the actual reality.
Yes. So much of your work you can't do while you have a classroom full of students. And so you have the whole day with students in front of you, and then everything else that you have to take care of, all the lesson planning, grading papers, everything else has to happen on your own time, basically.
Right. Right. And then unfortunately, teachers are also not paid that well. So it's like having to, I guess, pay for childcare and do this other stuff while taking on all these responsibilities outside of work hours while not getting paid a lot, which is crazy.
Absolutely. I knew a lot of teachers that actually worked second jobs or had side hustles and things that they were doing because you're putting in so much time and the pay was just not sufficient to support their family.
Yeah. Oh my God. I've heard of that. I've been seeing a lot of articles about that where it's teachers are like Uber drivers at night. It's insane. How poorly we treat our teachers, but that's a topic for another podcast. With a lot of women, when they have their first child, obviously it complicates things and there's more of a balance that's needed. And so at what point did you start really thinking you need to figure out something else?
So I actually quit teaching twice. I quit shortly after I finished up maybe a month and a half after having our youngest daughter because she was born in March. And I didn't go back until she was almost 1. So I took off, most of the first part of first year of her life. Then when I went back when she was almost 1, I tried a different school district, thinking that it would be a good change. And the start of the second year there, it was becoming very clear that there was a different plan for me because as good as it had been at the start, that second year with a new group of kids and, a lot of things that had been going on at that school, it was really, really rough. I was no longer being effective in my classroom whatsoever because of some issues that we were having with students and evacuating the classroom. And at that point, I wasn't even able to teach. I'm like, this is a clear sign that if I can't even teach and be effective in any way or keep my students safe at that point, that I was meant to be doing something else because that was, something that I had this pull. I tried network marketing while I was out after quitting the first time. And, it just wasn't quite a good fit, but it gave me the confidence to put myself out there. And so I quit with no plan whatsoever in September of that school year. So here school starts in August. So I made it about 2 months into that new school year and decided that there had to be more than what I was doing. And I had that pull. And so I started freelancing as a virtual assistant is how I got started actually.
Oh, okay. So I want to get into that, but really quickly going back, I think a lot of times when people are in these service types of roles, especially with teachers. A lot of times there's a lot of like guilt about leaving because you know the students and you feel like you obviously went in there because you wanted to help. But did you feel like, was there something that was kind of keeping you before you decided to quit that related to that you felt like, if you're not a teacher, if you don't stay to be a teacher, then like, what are you going to do? Did you have those fears?
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of guilt because you're looking at,
right.
You basically feel like you're abandoning children. I was teaching third grade at the time. So they're, 8 and 9-year-old children that they need you. And, then to give up on, that's how I saw myself making an impact on the world was, through teaching and touching the lives of all these children. And then, to step away from that was really, really hard. And there was a lot of guilt, a lot of guilt.
Yeah, I hear that actually really commonly. And I had the same thing when I left because the type of law I was practicing, I was in public, I was in the government work, I was doing public defense work. And it is a very big stumbling block for a lot of people that are doing things when they're passionate about a cause or a service, that you feel the sort of like you have to stay even if you're unhappy just because whoever you're serving needs you. And so it is a stumbling block for a lot of people, I know.
Yes, definitely.
And so when you quit and you didn't have a plan, why don't you explain to people what a VA is? Because that is very common now in the gig economy and all the stuff that's coming up with the internet. It's something that's more of a new business that people can start on their own from their homes. And I don't know if a lot of people know what it is or what VAs do.
So basically the VA stands for virtual assistant. And I did everything from, scheduling social media posts to, I had one client that, I was basically like her personal assistant. I called, this was probably the funniest task. Just shows you the range of how you can support people. I called to see what dentist accepted her insurance. So literally I was a support piece for, whatever I could take off of these business owners' plates so that they could run their business better without having, some of those smaller tasks eating up their time each day.
Yeah. And I think this is just a really important thing to note for a lot of people that don't know, because starting a couple of years ago, I mean, this has been now going on for a while, but like, I know for me, I didn't really have any idea about VAs until I read Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek. And he talks a lot about like basically delegating all the tasks, personal and professional, that you can so that you can free up your time. And so a lot of people are looking, like you were just saying, even for personal tasks, since everything is online now, even if it's like buying gifts or cleaning out your inbox or a million different things, people are outsourcing. And it was very common to outsource in the beginning. I think VAs were mostly overseas, but there's language barriers. So a lot of people now are switching to VAs in the US, and VAs can make really good money. I mean, I know I talked to some VAs, they're charging anywhere from like $20, $30, $40, $50 an hour for, depending on what they're doing and if it's business related, if they have a specialty or whatnot. But it's a cool gig economy type job that you can do from your home and, on your own time.
Yes, absolutely. It was a great way for me to get started in the online space.
Yeah. Like, how did you even know to get started in that though? How did you know how to set up like a VA business, or where did you find people that wanted you as a VA?
I mean, I basically was scouring the internet trying to see what could I do to transition. Like, what do I do with my teaching degree? Like, what now? And, after looking at a couple of different things and realizing that, by the time I paid for childcare or having crazy hours, it just wasn't worth it. I started looking at what could I do on my own online. Like, I kind of had a little bit of understanding of the whole, online business space. And so I basically just dove in and talked to as many people as I could. I, started seeing what was out there, thought about the skills that I had that would be, marketable, and really just had the tenacity to put myself out there and say, yes, I can help you with this. And, just making connections with people.
Yeah. And I think that's something that, it comes up a lot, but it's like, you don't really have it all figured out. You just kind of put yourself out there. You have to have the confidence to know that you'll figure it out. And yes. I know right now for, anybody listening, if they're interested, there's tons of business Facebook groups and different ones where people are very active, and they're very like, they'll put out that they're seeking VAs. And I know there's probably like groups for VAs yes. and all this stuff that you can kind of get started, where you can try to network on there or see if anyone needs help and kind of get started that way.
Yes. There are so many resources out there that can help you get started. Absolutely.
So you get started as a VA and you were saying you were doing some social media marketing and stuff. How did that lead to your current business that you're doing now? And can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Yes. So I started working with a food blogger, and she had me doing, various tasks. And as we've been working together for about a month, she said, I feel like you have so much more to offer. I have this course that I bought and it's on using Pinterest. And she said, I've been using it, but, this is promising me, even greater results. I don't have the time to go through it. And so she basically paid me by the hour to go through the course to get the training and then, apply everything that I learned to her account. And that was really what jump-started everything for me because I loved the way the platform worked. It all made sense for me. Whereas some other things, like I could do it, but it just didn't really light me up, And so diving into this platform and seeing the power that it held for generating website traffic with no ad spend was a really big eye opener. And as I learned, then more people were asking about Pinterest all the time once I kind of like clued in on all of that. And basically from in January, I'd quit in September. By January, the start of that new year, I was exclusively working on Pinterest because there was a high demand. People didn't know how much power it had to get them website traffic without having to pay for, like, for instance, Facebook ads. And it just really all grew from there.
And what does your business look like today? Is it just you still? How many clients do you typically take on? Have you kind of replaced your income? If you'd like, tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, so I have an assistant that helps me with some tasks within my business, and I limit myself to like 3 or 4 new clients a month to keep, my workload where I can have that balance and have the time for my family. And at this point, I have pretty much replaced my teaching income, especially if you look at not needing full-time childcare for 2 kids anymore because I'm home and I can work around them.
Yeah, I love that. So there's so many things that I think that your story like highlights. One, the fact that you're saying you can be at home with your kids. So clearly you're working less hours and it allows you like that flexibility, which I think is so desired by so many people. So many people want that to like create that life that they want. But what I love about this is that, I think if you were in your teaching role, like you didn't know that you wanted to be like a marketing agency, or like that you have some kind of, that you wanted to be a marketer. And I think so many people get really stuck in not knowing what they want to do, that they just don't start anything. And like you were just saying, I mean, now I'm sure when you're in it, you see how much opportunity is out there with the internet, how many tasks are needed, how many different, skill sets are needed. And once you kind of put one step in front of the other, it's interesting how it leads you to something that lights you up.
Yes, absolutely. And, just getting started and trying some things, led me to something that I really do love. And then, since I've specialized and learned so much, I still get to use my teaching background because not only do I do full services, but I also train business owners that want to learn how to do it themselves and VAs that want to have Pinterest as a service that they offer within their business as well. So I'm still able to teach people, which is really, really awesome.
That is really awesome. And that's something I see also that a lot of people are doing online. It's like once you have that skill and then you can teach it, then you can scale that business a lot bigger because it's not one-on-one, client work. You can create a course and end up, selling it and making a lot more money.
Yes. There are so many skills that lend themselves well to teaching other people how to do, there's a business that I see that her entire business is literally teaching people how to care for plants.
I love that.
But that's just how amazing the online space is with the opportunity. If that's your passion, it's something that you're amazing at. There are other people that need that and you can step in and serve them in that way.
No, absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up because we've talked about that a lot. I try to give as many examples as I can because I think once you're like in traditional fields, you don't really realize all of the opportunity that is out there. And like every day I see stories of people that are doing such obscure, like niche and in such a niche and they're making so much money. Same thing. I saw a guy who is making 6 figures and he sells books on how to take care of orchids because orchids are so difficult apparently to take care of. And it's like, who would ever think that, but there's people out there for you if you have something to teach.
That's right.
And so what would you say though to people that, are listening to this and say like, well, yeah, but now there's so many people that do Pinterest or do social media that like, there's no room for me.
That's a common fear that so many people have. And, I was there myself with seeing, other people. There are a lot of people that do Pinterest, and there are a lot of people that, do a really good job. But what happens is you end up drawing in your people. And it's, crazy as that sounds, it's absolutely true, because there are people that will work with you because you're you, because they just are drawn to you, and the way that you teach things or the way that you speak to them, just there's someone for everyone. Just like I believe, like in relationships, like there are people that just fit together really well to fill in these services and things in people's businesses and the online space as well.
Yeah. And actually, like, I love that you said that, because the way I found you was actually, I was looking for someone to help me with Pinterest. Just as an aside to anybody listening, what we were talking about earlier is like Pinterest, if you're not on it for your business, whatever business that is, Pinterest is like Google. It's a search engine. It's not like Instagram or Facebook or, as a social media platform. People literally are on there searching for things. And so your primary thing is to help people get traffic to their website, right?
Yes.
And so would you recommend everybody be on Pinterest? Like even like, let's say you have a law firm or you have a dental office, like does Pinterest work for that?
I mean, it can definitely help boost your Google ranking, but with it being a, national, and then reaching out into, international reach, you're going to be reaching, really wide audience with that. So usually local businesses, unless you have some form of serving people online or even over the phone, then it can get a little complicated with that. But if you have an online based business or a product based business where you're shipping to more than just a small area, then it definitely is a great way to increase your visibility for your brand and drive that website traffic. And what I really specialize in is using that website traffic from Pinterest that you're getting for free. And that's the biggest draw, to then translate that into leads for your business.
Right. Well, that's a good thing to clarify. I think that totally makes sense that it may not be the perfect thing for local businesses, but anything that's online, it seems to be great. But so what I was saying is I found you because I was looking for someone to help me with Pinterest. And it was interesting because your packages, like you were saying, are completely different than everybody else that I had encountered. The price point that you offered it at and the way you structured your offerings was so unique, which I loved. Everyone had something slightly different. And it was interesting to me because different ones make sense for different business owners. So I think that you're absolutely right that what you have may not work for some people and it may work for others, and you'll find your people. I mean, I just see like more and more people are now online with blogs and podcasts and businesses. And so, each person that's doing like social media marketing or VAs or consulting or whatever else they're doing can only serve a certain amount of people. Like there's so many people out there that need help. And if you can find something that you can give help in, like there's always room.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, because especially with service-based, they can only actually serve a limited amount of people. And so there's always going to be more people that need the help than people that provide that service.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for anybody that is like stuck in your position, like when you were as a teacher, when they maybe want more flexibility, but they don't know, like they may not love marketing or they don't really know much about any of these things. Do you have any advice that you would give someone that just feels really stuck?
I would definitely just start thinking about, what do you know a lot about that other people would be interested in? And, ask other people, like, how do you see me serving people other than like what I'm doing in my job? And you'd be surprised to hear like what they would have to say. And that might take you down a path that you've never even thought about that you can use to start an online business to have that freedom and flexibility.
I think that's great. Well, Jena, this has been super helpful. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on. If people want to contact you, maybe to ask some more questions or to inquire about your Pinterest services, where is the best place for them to find you?
So my website is going to give you a lot of good information, get you in touch with my private Facebook community that you can join to learn more, and let you send me an email. So that would definitely be the best way. And that's Jena Liat, JenaLiat.com.
Great. Well, I will link to that in the show notes in case anybody wants to find it. Thanks, Jena. I loved having you, and I'm sure that this is going to help a lot of people.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
How cool was that? I love Jena's story. And what I want to do is do a couple of wrap up points after each episode and talk about kind of key takeaways that we can learn from each person. And I think from Jena's story, there's a couple things that I take away. One, we talked about, like, you don't have to be a martyr. I know a lot of people in service-based careers have a really hard time leaving because they're so attached to the cause or the population that they're helping. And while I understand that, you don't have to sacrifice yourself. Like, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if it's not serving you anymore, it is okay to get out of that and try to figure out another way to serve. Two, and I think this is kind of the major one, is we talked about this in the beginning. Jena started this 2 years ago. 2 years before that, she was a teacher. She had no idea what Pinterest management was. And she got started. She took one course for somebody else and she learned about this. Like, you don't have to have a degree in marketing. You don't have to have a special background. You have to be a couple steps ahead. There are so many people now that need help with a million things online. And there are so many ways to start a business. In 2 years, she's replaced her income and can work less and be home, and she can grow this so that her income can be even more than what she was making. And yet I feel like we get so stuck on thinking that we have to build these huge businesses. And it's like, it's so easy with the internet. So don't think that you need to have this expertise, this PhD. You just need to be a couple of steps ahead in order to help other people. And you can make that into a viable business. And third, I think it always comes back to, like, the fact that you just have to start. She would have never gotten there if she didn't just start VAing for someone that needed help with Pinterest, that led her down that path. With every story, it's the common denominator. Like, you got to put yourself out there. You got to make a decision and just start going and see where that leads you. And if it's the wrong path, which, there's no such thing as a wrong path, but if that isn't where you want to end up, you pivot and you'll find it. So with that, go out there and start taking action. And I will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. I can't tell you how much it means to me. If you liked the podcast, please rate and review us on iTunes. It'll help other people find the show. If you want to connect or reach out, follow along on Instagram and Facebook at Lessons from a Quitter, and on Twitter at Quitter Podcast. I would love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you on the next episode.